There we go. Now we're live. Sorry about that. We had to change the audio signal, but we're back on live here for the show. But we will run for it again. Iowa big matchup today against Colorado, and it's gonna be a big factor here. Can they really push the tempo? Really get going offensively? But here's a women's bracket. Looks like this. No, the men's bracket looks like this. How about Florida Atlantic taking on Kansas State for the shot at the Final Four? Then it's Gonzaga and UConn as well. And then it is Princeton and Creighton and Alabama San Diego State, Houston versus Miami, and Texas taking on Xavier. And it's going to be a big factor also tonight. The women's game is going to be. Here's what the women's bracket looks like. South Carolina taking on UCLA at 1. Then it's Maryland taking on Notre Dame. Louisville, Ole Miss, Iowa, Colorado. Villanova, Miami, Utah, LSU, Virginia Tech, Tennessee, and UConn, and the Ohio State. But the big keys tonight, the last time Iowa and Colorado met was in 2017. It was an 80-62 win for the Hawkeyes in that game, but Colorado has some elite players with Michaela Johnson, Xiaomi Sanders. I think that's Deion Sanders' daughter, but I could be wrong there. Jalen Sherrod. How about Kendali Weta with Ali Fitzgerald and Quay Miller? Also, the key players for the Buffaloes. But the key player tonight, because Colorado is fast. They are very fast. Because when I watched them against Duke in that game in Cameron Indoor, the game that was absolutely amazing play both sides between Duke and Colorado. Colorado flew around to the basketball. And you got to move around and really be a menace defensively, because if you don't, it's going to be a big factor for the Hawkeyes to communicate offensively. You got to meet passes. Unless you're going to go, unless no one's there, and then you can go that way. But they will pressure out of nowhere. And you got to know what to do when you press breaking. Because a lot of times, people, men's and women's, I see this a lot. And even in the high school level, I see it a lot. Some people aren't made for the press. I mean, some people don't. They turn the ball over more because they don't know how to protect the basketball in a press breaking situation. What you do against Colorado tonight, if you're the Hawkeyes, is when they do that, you gotta meet passes. You can't just throw a pass and hope it gets there. You got to meet the pass, come to the pass. Make a bounce pass if you have to inside of Monica Sonano, because you can't. Because this team is one of the best turnover forcing teams in the Pac-12 this year in the Colorado Buffaloes, and I'm gonna be very interested to see tonight if Iowa can get back for the first back to the Elite Eight for the first time since Megan Gustafson was there, and that was against Baylor that year, I believe. But it's going to be a very key factor. I'm gonna there. I'm gonna tell you. I said this on KUI. I said this all the time. Iowa's bench will Iowa season is gonna be determined by bench scoring because that's gonna be the big factor because now when you get deeper and deeper into the tournament, you gotta rely more on that bench you really because Iowa against Central Michigan they had 5 girls in double figures. That's what Iowa needs to do. Like Caitlin Clark with 20, um, Sonata with 20, Molly Davis with 10, Stolke with 12. If you get that type of production, Iowa's gonna be very tough to beat. But if Caitlin Clark has an off shooting night, who's gonna step up for the Hawkeyes? That's not named Monica Sonata. Because Hayana Stolke, I will say this right now, she's the future of the Iowa Girls basketball program. Because Hannah Stolke, I have nothing but respect for her. From Cedar Rapids Wash, she has already won my respect, and she's only a freshman. She's only a freshman. For her being a freshman and being that composed down in the post is unheard of. And if she gets better, she could be in the conversation for Player of the Year in the nation as a junior or senior. I'm just saying, because she has that type of presence. She has that type of presence. She has that Luca Garza mentality to go after. What I like about it is she goes after loose balls. She picks up those 50-50 balls that are so huge down stretch in close games. Because against Georgia, she dove on the deck to save a turnover that would have gave Georgia an extra possession. Who knows what we would have done what Georgia would have done with that extra possession. Hannah Stolke has that dog in her, like I said, because. But the key for Iowa, I'm going to say this: the Iowa will go as far as the bench will take them, because if Caitlin Clark doesn't have a good shooting night tonight, who's going to be the Hawkeye that steps up, or Hawkeyes to step up? It's next lady up. Because great teams find a way to win games in March. Championship teams find a way to win. Uh, yeah, they just find a way to win. It's just that simple. Find a way to win. Because in March, anything can happen. In Iowa, if and the thing with Iowa, you can't have um 10 turnovers, 12 turnovers, like you did in the first half against Georgia. You can't. Because from here on out, you've got to take care of the basketball is the utmost importance. You cannot give extra possessions to the other team. Because every point means so critical in March. Every possession is so crucial in March that if I'm Iowa and if I start building a lead early on in this game, I will slow the tempo down. Here's why. Because Colorado plays fast. They are fast. So if you can slow down the tempo, I know Iowa, they want to go fast too. But here's my logic behind this. Colorado is they get up to down in court, they love the fast break, just like Iowa does. This game's gonna be crucial. And I'm going to watch the energy points. I'm going to be tallying these energy points today. Charges, loose balls, jump balls. Those energy points. that you don't see on the stat sheet, but they're huge in games. Because you can tell a team's locked in if they dive on loose balls, pick up charges, um, that stuff. Because championship teams, I will say it again, find a win game. They will find championship teams find a way to win in March. They just do. Because there's going to be a big factor there as well. We will talk more about this, and we will give you my opinion on the games tonight for the boys basketball. You'll see the Inside the Huddle on the JT Sports Network. This episode of Inside the Huddle on the JT Sports Network is presented by Coolers. It's just sauce, some of the best barbecue you can get in Eastern Iowa. They've been shipping award winning barbecue in Eastern Iowa since 2018 at 114 East Green Street in Walker, Iowa. 114 East Green Street in Walker, Iowa. To get a hold of them or to get a reservation, you can get a hold of them at 319 488 4888. 319 488 4888. And at www.coolsit'sjustsauce.com. www.it'sjustsauce.com. And Interstate Swine, helping to raise fresh and safe pork for your family and your community in Iowa since 1998. And the entire Interstate Swine team helping to serve you with Todd Wiley, Dave Carcas, Cliff McKinley, Ben Seiler, and Rob Turner. Welcome back here to Inside the Huddle here on the JT Sports Network. It's gonna and how about Iowa baseball 16:30? But now let's look at the other games as well as you look at the big chances tonight. Iowa really has to play with they gotta meet passes really. The key for the road to the championship game, if you're Iowa, would be Colorado, Louisville, Ole Miss, South Carolina, UCLA, Maryland, or Notre Dame in the Final Four if you make it. And then I think Iowa matches up well, but I'm going to say this again. The Iowa's going to go as far as the bench will take them because Iowa's bench has been good in some games and not good in some games this year. And I'll be interested to see what Hawkeye team shows up today and what Lisa Bluter is gonna say in the huddles because if you get down early, you gotta take a timeout and you gotta scrap the whole entire game plan. If the game plan's not working, you gotta scrap it right away. You can't wait until it's too late to scrap the game plan. If you're down by, I say, 8 early, you got to regroup and you got to change the game plan. Because, or make an adjustment on the fly. Because, big thing for Iowa is can they win these games? Because they looking to make, I don't think, has an Iowa team ever been to the Final Four for women's? That's a good question. I don't think Iowa women has ever been to the Final Four. I know they've been to one Elite Eight in 2016 or 2017 with Megan Gustafson when they played Baylor that year, and that was an absolute dogfight that year. That Baylor game was closer than people will give Iowa credit for. They were matching Baylor blow for blow, and it was like that was a heavyweight prize fighter match. If you